best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever seen was from a mechanic who trained me years ago. His name was Paul Grew. Called him Lumpy. It was know the rules before you break the rules. And so the story behind that was I was doing like brakes on a G body, and the standard rule, right? You just run the castle nut down till it's tight, back it off, quarter turn, throw the cotter pin in, spin the rotor, throw the tire and wheel on. And he saw me doing that when I was an apprentice, and he stopped me and he's like, stop. Why did you do that? And I was like, well, because that's just what you always do. And he goes, that's not the rule. He goes, look it up in the fucking book. What's the spec? There's an actual specification for the run out on that rotor. And so I looked it up, and sure enough, you actually put a dial indicator on it. You measure the actual backlash in that rotor when you back the bearing off. And he said, now that you've done that, now you know what it's supposed to feel like. And now you can, so once you know that rule, now you can break that rule. And he said, so that was his rule. And that was who taught me. He was the guy who, when I started as a transmission guy, he was like an old school transmission guy. He'd been doing it since he was 16 years old. He was in his 50s, and he taught me everything about transmissions. And he was like, we were transitioning from like 700 R4s, 400s into 4L80s, 4L60Es, that whole 4T60, that the electronic side. And he was like, I don't want to touch that shit. So give that to the kid. And that was my job. So I had to learn all the electronic stuff and he just did all the old school stuff. So I got all that cool old school knowledge from him, but then still learned how to like why a computer controlled transmission works differently than a regular transmission. But yeah, that was probably the best piece of advice I ever got. Cause that then taught me forever. Cause then that's just a great rule to have. Cause then once you understand it, then you can break it. Cause then you know how to take the shortcut.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Number one, don't do it for money, because you may never get there. Don't do it for fame. Do it because you love it. I don't care if you're a cook. I don't care if you drive a trash truck. If it's what turns your deal, your bick, or whatever they say, whatever makes you click, do it because you love it, where you wake up in the morning and you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm not racing, I saw one, and this ain't a political plug, but they said Trump once went, and I ain't saying which side I'm on, don't care. They said he went on vacation and he bought a hotel. I'm the same way. If I go on vacation, people have seen me standing in the surf with my old skinny legs, white body, and bathing trunks with this belly on me. But I'm wearing that peak white hat because I don't go nowhere without it. But when I get there, it's like I want to create something. I want to build, or at least get an idea. That's why I go to the movies. I go to the movies to figure out where I'm going in life, because it sends a message. It's like, It's how God talks to me through the movies. I believe that, and I'm sticking to that till I drop. So what I'm saying is, life is good. Don't do something unless you love it, or you are wasting your time. And that's why I'm going to stay out here. I'm going to keep telling people, get off the couch. I'm tired when I get up every day after sleeping 10 hours. But once I get going, get my motor, get on trucking, life gets good. You wouldn't sit there, even if you got to listen to a guy like me, full of it, right? But you wouldn't sit there if you didn't love what you bring to the party and what you, with your guests, that you put out there to the world.
Find something you're really passionate about and do it hard and do it well. And don't care about what other people think of you or what, people make fun of you. If you really love something, I don't care what it is, go do it and do it hard and do it right. And you get one chance at all this, right? Yeah. And so do what you love and make a living at it. And it doesn't have to be something you do that's wealthy. Although I do think that hard work and passion of what you do can get you somewhat successful, but go just do what you like and don't care what other people think. It's good. Yeah. Provided it's legal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That leads me to the, we're getting there.
So now looking at it as I'm getting older, my grandpa's whole saying was, if you can't afford what you really want, then don't buy it at all. Wait until you can afford it. I'd say that I used to, like, when I was younger, I'd be in a fucking, Grandpa found a boat, 21 footer, dude. It's got a jet boat, but the motor don't run. He'd be like, you don't need it. Just wait until you can buy one that runs. And then, like as I got older, like I used to want to buy race cars that were pieces of shit, and then I'll rebuild them and make them nice. And he's like, you're going to have more money in it that way. But for me, I think that piece of advice would be to wait and to hustle and to get the capital that it takes and needs to do anything in life right.
Buy once, cry once.
Yeah, I think that, it's not even that. I think even like when it comes to just doing everything I look at now, I'm going like, man, if I would have had that piece of shit, first of all, I didn't even need the boat, because in reality, the boat was a hobby when I was actually trying to be a race car driver. Like if I would have spent the $5,000 on the boat, and then I probably would have been $5,000 into the damn motor, and then another $2,000 or $3,000 into the jet pump, that would have been all that money away from racing. So I look at it going like, it wasn't so much about the boat. It was more like you have other things in life that the money should be spent on. Yeah. So focus on what's going to make you successful, and just.
That's great advice.
It's good advice for drag racers, because those dudes, they will buy like the cheapest project car you can get. And
always lacking the motor.
And then over the next,
everything's set up.
Over the next 2 to 3 years, put like 6 figures in that car, which just wait like a little bit longer, because at the end of it, it's worth like nothing, because it's like the most asinine, like off-year vehicle ever.
I'd agree on that. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I think, like looking at it now, I probably would have a jet boat, a couple jet skis, bunch of dirt bikes, probably 2 or 3 dirt bike trailers, because I could have got good deals on them. And I'd have all the shit that you're sitting there going like, instead of buying a race car or a tow, chase trucks and nicer trailers, like I would be that guy. Back then I would look at it and be like, fuck, I would have had a 25 pieces of shit out.
It's a yard full of shit.
Just garbage that, you could have had one nice thing. But now the problem is nothing. They're worth all half.
You're a humble guy. We can tell. We've met you, an hour and a half ago. Have you ever thought about that gull wing that you just talked about selling?
I'm not selling.
No, the one you sold. The one you sold. And you're not going to name that guy, your friend. You're not going to name him. I get it, but he's a very famous person. You just told that story. Have you ever thought about the fact of how famous that car is going to be because of what you owned it, and then you sold it? That's going to be like somebody's going to be chasing that because you owned that car.
The Bruce Meyer 300.
Like the Pearson brothers.
I kind of look at it this way. I never think of, listen, I'm just a blessed guy. I thank God every day. I had the greatest parents in the world, but I think if you start believing your own press and you start thinking you are somebody, that's when it all goes away. So I've never considered myself anything any different than you guys.
Remember that, Josh.
No.
See, that might be a good tattoo on your forearm. You can just every day.
Actually, I'm loving that tat.
I saw the Von Dutch stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you see the pinstripe?
I did.
I got that at Havasu Deuce Week. But I love it. I love hanging out with the hot rodders. They're all humble. No, there's no pecking order.
Right.
I don't care if you've won Amber or you're, the Riddler, whatever it is. A great guy that is George Poteet. Have you ever met George Poteet?
We've built a lot of cars for George.
We built about a dozen cars for George.
There is a cool dude.
Yeah.
He is.
He is the Medici of hot rodding. That guy that in the old days, the Medici family funded a lot of artists so they could keep creating.
Yeah.
And that's what George does.
Oh, he's done a phenomenal job with it.
He's humble. Anyways, if I could be that guy, I'm glad to be, considered.
That's awesome.
In the same genre as that guy. And, but we all know guys that are full of themselves, and that doesn't do it. So I don't know if that going will be worth any more, any less. I've never given that a thought. But
that one with that small block is going to have a story.
By the way, and this is such a cool car. But the guy that owns it is globally like beyond multiples of famous than I am, and he's another guy. We were fraternity brothers in Cal. We raced motorcycles every weekend together. He's just a jamoke like me, and he's never considered himself anything other than just good at what he does, And look at you build these chassis. You won the Slonaker Award this year with one of your chassis.
We've got great customers that build some amazing shit that decide to use Roadster Shop chassis. So we're blessed in that manner for sure.
Well, you could build the best chassis in the world, but if you guys are assholes, it's not going to work.
That's true.
You have to be humble. Right. And you guys are, I mean, you're appreciative of your customers. So I ran a retail store, and my nephew runs it now, but the day you think you got it together is the day you lose it. I say, we opened that store every day. It was like our first day in business. We appreciate every customer and every friendship.
Yeah, because it can be gone in an instant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my head, this isn't probably the greatest, but it's just the first thing that comes to my head. It's an old cliche, but my granddad always told me when I'd go stay with my grandparents during the summer.
The hell's the matter with you? Yeah. The hell's the matter with you?
No, it was always don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today. Yeah. It was a very simple thing, but it stuck with me all the time, especially as a shithead little teenager that was always like, can't we just do that tomorrow? Can't we just do that tomorrow? And it stuck with me. It's probably not the greatest piece of advice I've ever received. It's the first one that comes to my head.
Yeah.
Very cliche.
I like that. So I have one that I say this to my employees a lot, and I try to visually do it so that they pick up on it. And I heard it, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like I use it in almost every meeting, and like, just because it's like warehouse people change and stuff like that, and you get new people in and stuff, and so I'll bring out like I have this box of like roller hockey balls, like there's those balls. And it's like when you visually get people involved, it seems like it helps. But I think of this shit every day. So I tell them all that we all start with the same amount of fucks to give in a day. And that's the other thing is that using the word fuck really gets their attention. And so, I try to like keep it like young and cool. Like I'm starting to feel like this, like, I'm like the cool dad, like that's teaching his 20-year-olds to give a fuck, Well,
I got news for you. The guy that says I'm trying to keep it young and cool that's generally the first sign of you're not young and cool. We do the same. We're trying to be like hip it up a little.
Are you sure? I just got these new white New Balances, and they're super comfy too.
You put the Scotch guard on them.
Gotta keep them white.
I've been saving all of our Hawaiian shirts too that match them.
Nice. All right, so zero fucks given.
So the thing is like and this is the way I heard it explained. So I do it by like saying like, hey, like what you like focus on that day. Like we all have the same amount of time, which is basically how many fucks that we can give for a day. So if you focus on, you jumped online today and you're like, oh, well, this person said something and I don't like it. And fucking, there goes one of my fucks for the day. And you're like emptying out your fucking bucket of basically. And basically as an analogy of saying that like you control what you fucking, what you're bringing in on yourself. And then you also control like where your focus is for the day. And if my focus is on fucking so-and-so's fucking boyfriend broke up with her and blah, blah, blah. And this person said this about that fucking person. And I can't believe that this company's doing this and they're fucking ripping us off and blah, blah, blah. And if I give a fuck about all that shit, then I have like basically 2 fucks left at the end of the day of, fucking no time whatsoever to actually give a fuck about what is important. And if I bypass all that bullshit and I just look at it as like, dude, if it's not my business, then it's none of my fucking business and whatever, and if it's not positive, I'm not fucking taking it in and let all that shit go to the wayside, then I'm able to give all of my fucks into exactly what it takes to win. And so I kind of like try to think about stuff like that so that if I ever like, someone's like, hey, fuck you, Danny Dixon, you're a fucking idiot. That happens like every day. So like, 28 times a day or something. So like, I'm like, all right, thanks, bud.
It's not my real name, asshole.
You don't even know my last name.
Hey, ask your mom.
So I don't know. It's like just a very basic way of trying to remember that it's like, it's up to us what we fucking focus on at the end of the day.
That's a really well put.
You have to understand for yourself, like what it is that you really want to do and like what you want to get out of the experience of the thing that you've chosen to do and like that you're putting your energy into. Like, I think I got sucked in as a professional race car driver at times to being sort of enamored with some of the other parts of it. And you get really attached to the performance at the end of the weekend, like where you actually stacked up and all of those things. And it's like, it took me going through some shit as a race car driver and going through some, having the experience of that not always going well and being attached to it and having that really affect, you know, what I was like away from the track at times. Like you get really hung up on, you know, we just did shitty this weekend or whatever, weekend to weekend. And so I guess just, you know, recognizing that really the enjoyment that I'm getting out of this, what I'm extracting out of this experience is really just attached to whether or not I do my best work when I have the opportunity to do that. And focusing on that as the thing that's what I'm going to work on. Like, I'm not going to look at this as I've got to go run the fastest lap time. I'm going to look at this as I've got to go get the most out of myself when I get out track today. And that not only was like a huge, as simple as that seems, that was a huge shift in just my whole approach and like attitude about doing the thing that I was doing. But it enabled me to completely disassociate from all of the things that I'm not in control of, you know, that end up affecting where you end up at the end of a race weekend or whatever else. So that to me was like if there was something that I wish I had known to do earlier in my career that I think would have allowed me to get even more out of it, that's it.
I mean, the whole thing, SEMA, and especially going to your party was like really mind-blowing for me and the whole team, because we've never been around anybody else in the whole car building scene. And then suddenly like everybody is there, right? We're shocked to like have a table. Like it was like, it's very much imposter syndrome thing. Like, wild to be there. And I honestly had no expectations to, like, was just overjoyed that we got nominated for an award by you guys, which was just by itself was incredibly cool. But I honestly wasn't even like at all prepared. Like I was so embarrassed going up there and saying, because I didn't know what to say when we got the award. And part of it was like, I just didn't think that was going to be a thing. And like I said, I'm kind of shy and kind of socially not the coolest guy in the party anyway. So yeah, I had a hard time, but that changed everything for us, at least within the industry, because everybody coming out of that, when I go to order parts from other companies, people are like, "Oh, Ruffian cars. I saw it." Most of the time, there are other companies that were at SEMA. And they were like, "Oh, I saw your booth. I saw your cars at SEMA. Super cool. I want to work with you on X, Y, and Z." So like at least within the industry, suddenly like almost overnight for us, like everybody knew who our shop was and felt like we were legitimate, and wanted to work with us, which was
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter how much social media posting and how badass the pictures were or how much stuff you did. It really came down to actually having to show up with a badass vehicle. That's what none of the other stuff mattered. That's what puts yourself on the map. You can talk about the booth. You can talk about the thing. Showing up with two badass fucking cars, not leaving anything left on the table. You put it all out there. It was the best that you could possibly fucking do. You don't look back and be like, well, I mean, the guy wasn't paying me for that. You did the best you could fucking do and let it speak for itself. That's what puts you on the industry. That's what puts you on the map. That's what puts you in front of these guys. No, I don't care how it's 2023, how much AI and social media and marketing and other bullshit. The physical product and the hard work that it takes to put it out still trumps everything.
100%, dude. 100%.
That's what did it. It doesn't take 25 fucking years of, well, if I can get in front of this guy, what you showed up to SEMA with two badass fucking cars and everybody took notice. Like,
yeah.
What else can you say to that?
I can't remember the last time or if anybody's ever done that. You know, like there's a lot of dudes like, you know, I'm trying to think as you're talking, I'm thinking about, I'm like, when's the last time somebody showed up with something like that, came out of just like nowhere basically, and just like stole the fucking show.
Well,
right?
Granted, most people aren't making
poor financial decision to spend all their money on their.
But it takes. We all know, dude. We all know the money means nothing. Like in all, how many people have shown? Like, there's been tons of guys that have thrown millions and millions of dollars at it, and the money means nothing, dude. Obviously it takes the money to build the car, but it doesn't buy creativity. It doesn't buy style. It doesn't. You can't buy that. It takes sheer talent and vision. But
I think, my dad was a very hardworking person, and I've always been a very hardworking person. I mean, he bred that into me, and that's the way it had to be, and it's never changed. And I think the reason for me it's been easy, and I do 12, 14-hour days. I think it's easy because the thing that my dad taught me is he says, find something you love, and that's what you should work at. If you don't like your job, or if you don't like what you're doing, life's going to be miserable, work will be hard, and you won't be happy. So,
good advice.
I do what I like.
That's why you put 12, 14-hour days.
Exactly.
Because you enjoy doing it.
That's exactly right.
Don't take no for an answer if it's something you really want.
Oh.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that before the podcast.
Just be careful with that one. That's a.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you're working against your own best interests and you don't know it. But
maybe get her to sign a waiver first or something.
That's a dangerous one for sure. You can get yourself into trouble with that one. But honestly, just being persistent has knocked down more barriers than anything else. It's super easy to make comfort-based decisions in this world, and do things. Go the easy path. Do things that everybody else thinks are more reasonable. I've lived my life by not doing the reasonable thing at any point. and I don't regret a minute of it, man.
It's good.
It's an awareness thing. Once there's indicators that let you know that you're not happy with the things you're doing or how you're doing them, that's the point of how much do you want to put yourself through to keep doing the same things and still get the same results. And because I knew I was fucking up for years, and I chose to keep doing that out of habit. And what that does too is that creates this guilt and this shame because you're doing the same shit. You're making promises to yourself that you're going to stop doing something, or you're going to be a better person, or you're going to show up, or you're going to do this, and then you're fucking breaking promises to yourself. And it's like, you can't build yourself into someone that's strong or have self-esteem or confidence when you're breaking promises to yourself, not even other people. I don't like the advice on that. I think for me, because I only have my own experience on this thing, is I had a vice. I was using and drinking. And stopping that was my absolute ticket to success. So if there's someone that's in a position where they're fucking up and they don't have something like that going on, it's worse, because at least I knew there was a golden ticket there. Fucking get that shit out of here, and then I can start to flourish and grow. And that's the thing that's different is most people, unless they're, they have to be in this position where they're doing some other shit that's hurting their life, because it's nice, because then just take the stuff out and then learn how to grow and operate without that. Now there's a whole set of learning and growth that has to follow that. You can't just take that out when it's been a huge part of your life and then fucking white knuckle it. That doesn't work like that. You have to do the work. Like, I fucking see a therapist every week. Like, I talk to the right people. I have a routine. There's a lot in place that makes my chaotic, shitty fabricator self be grounded and structured.
Sure.
But for other people, I think just an awareness. It's a check. Like, check yourself. What is it? Figure that out, because I think everybody is smart to the point where they know what the fuck they're doing to hinder their life. If all of us want to sit here and we want to talk about whatever it is, that one thing, it probably comes to all of our brains right now. What can we stop right now that's going to make us a better person? Boom. And we all know something.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of having accountability and ownership in that, and then having the fucking balls to just do something else. But to have those balls, you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's the whole thing. Right. You have to get to a point where you're fucking sick of it. I hate what I'm doing, but I'd rather do anything besides what I fucking do. You know? Does that answer it, or is that just like?
No, it's great. Dude, what about like? I gotta ask you. You know, I follow you on Instagram, so obviously, like, you're a fucking physically fit dude. You fucking work out, right?
Yeah.
The physical aspect of it, like, what do you think that plays? Like, how don't you feel like that ties in mentally? Like, if a guy's gonna straighten his shit out, right?
Do I think that ties in mentally? That is like the physical, absolutely. The physical thing, and we can tap into that. I can see you're in shape too. Well, at least in that sweatshirt, you look like you got some shape.
It's a snug, so I stuffed it.
It's a kid's 14, 16.
Okay, that's like your favorite sweatshirt.
Yeah, right.
Hey, get my sweatshirt, honey.
Yeah. I got Morgan Clark coming on tonight. Let's get my
You're
good
never
sweatshirt.
gonna hear the end of this.
Never.
What happened? You know, that goes with all this, right? I was drinking classic Fabricator shit, right? Like I tell you, poster child. I was drinking 2 green monsters every day.
Yeah.
3 large fountain drinks, fast food for lunch, all together every day, fucking up little donuts and sugary shit from the gas station.
Any honey buns in there?
Honey buns? No, I like donuts and cupcakes. And there used to be these little things called rips, like in a package.
Oh yeah, I fucked with rips. Yeah, rips are fucking
there you go.
Sour little fucking thing.
Delicious little morsels. But
here we go.
I was like chasing Logan around. Logan's 10 and a half now. I was chasing Logan around the front yard, and I'm winded. I'm like, and I'm like, dude, why? My heart is going like I just ran 2 miles. Tag onto that. And it's all stuff, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. I'm like, I want to preserve my life for my kids, and I'm so good to get into a little bit of the physical and mental health thing. The turning point there is when I stopped drinking monsters, I stopped heavy soda like that, and then like we were out on a camping trip 2 years ago, and all these guys, like it's all like my chicks, like old coworkers and stuff, and you know, all these dads, and they're down at this creek. We all have no shirt on. They're drinking beers, and dude, dad, big old bellies and dad bods and all that stuff. And I like Peter nudges me, and he's like, dude, right? Like we're all just dad bods, like you know, blah blah. And I'm like, you know, like, am I there? Like, is that how I want to be? And I started like exercising specifically just to get in shape. But what that did mentally for me, I will trade any bit of physical shape for. You know, especially with doing it in the morning, I've had to figure out what works for me, you know, and that's why I like to wake up early. Like I wake up at 3:30, I get to the gym either 4 or 4:30 most days. And what that does is it's like, I feel like when I wake up, I'm already not a optimal person. I'm already negative. I already have like a shitty mindset. I'm not like as prime as I should be. And you know, the waking up, and I'm sorry if this leads into some other tangents, but it's all part of it, is, you know, waking up, holding commitments to yourself are like, it's one of the most profound things that I've like witnessed myself develop, where you can say you're going to do something and you do it. And I think a lot of my life, I didn't fucking do that. You know, I might have said something and not done it, or I would do stuff based on what I feel like doing, not what I need to do, you know, and like not having that discipline. So waking up early, like right off the bat, is a small win. And then going to the gym is a win, you know, and then at the gym, I take a cold shower. I don't put it on hot. I just take a cold shower, and it shocks my brain for a second, and I slow down, and I process. And all of that I have done by 6:45 in the morning. And when I go to get my coffee at Starbucks, I'm like ready. And in this mental shape, I feel like you put yourself through all that stuff in the morning. Like nobody wants to get up at 3:30. It sucks dick every single day. It is never like, woo, cool, we're up. Yeah. No, it is something you have to sit up. And I'll usually put my phone like so the light goes in my face, and I just stand up. My alarm clock's 10 feet away from me. But you do all that, and you know, by the time you get out of exercising, you've already done so much hard work to yourself and you've pushed yourself physically that anything that you have to go through during the day is not even a comparable scale to what you've already done. Everything is easier. Everything is more manageable. There's no drama. There's no shit. Like, you don't get caught up in things. You're not thinking about stuff. You're not obsessing stuff. Like, you've already done the work and you've already depleted yourself. Not depleted yourself like where you don't have energy, but you've just you got all the bullshit out of the way. And you know, that's the thing now, like the health thing, mental health, and especially with Fabricator guys. If we're talking about what advice to give guys that are builders, that, you know, are talented builders, is mental health. Like, that's it. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, dude. 100%.
Everything. That's the key to life with everybody, is taking care of yourself. And it's the same thing. Everything I've done in my life, especially over the last year, I've done in a way to better myself and optimize myself. And it just because I look like this is not, I don't like do stuff in my life to look like this. This is a product of what I'm doing in my life, like as a whole. And it's the same thing with so that would be the ticket, is mental health. If I had some advice for guys, it would be work stringently on your mental health and personal development, and then everything around you changes. Everything is manageable.
The shop started getting bananas, and like fuck, dude, we're years out now, and the phone's like nonstop, and so it's just something new to deal with. And Dave come by to the shop and he's like, "Man, what's going on?" I was like, "Dude, I got my phones aren't ringing. Like, we have people walking in the front door. Like, we had to have the lock company come and like lock the door permanently. So we just like it, you know, you gotta knock. You can't just walk in the front door anymore." Bless you. And I'm like, "There's just so much going on, dude. This is wild." He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something." I'm trying to talk like Dave. He's like, "Pressure is a privilege." He's like, "Think about that for a second." I'm like, "Oh shit. Okay, I get it, dude." And like, I think about that, dude, all the time. That was probably some of the best advice I ever got.
Football.
And so every time I feel like my back's against the wall, I'm like, dude, this is a privilege. Like, not a lot of people have this opportunity to have the fucking 100 phone calls a week, to have, you know, the messages that we get on social media are asking me for help all the time. I'm like, damn, dude, like, he's right, you know?
Yeah. That dude that's living under the bridge that you pass on your way to work, how many phone calls do you think he gets?
Probably not many, dude. No. But I give him the pipes every single time I see him. Because I'm sure he's a hot rodder. Well, wants to be.
Who doesn't like cool cars?
Everybody loves cool cars, dude.
Everybody.
But that was probably the best advice I ever got, because it really made me sit back at a point in my life where I was like growing and needed to hear that. And I'm like, dude, like, that just fucking kind of set me back in my seat and made me think more, because I didn't really understand it at the time, you know?
Best piece of advice. I feel like I've had so many good influences throughout my life that it's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but you know.
Your mind goes to something right now.
Right now, it's like working hard works. You know, there's no substitute for hard work. I've told my kids, I've preached to my kids since they were little, like, you might not be the best athlete on the field, but don't ever let anybody outwork you. You know, and there's no substitution for that.
Proof's in the pudding, though, dude. Look at tell him about Ryan. Proof's in the, like, what have you been telling that kid his whole life? Like, how hard
he works hard, and he's busting his butt and trying to do the right. I tell my kids all the time, like, hey, when you go to bed at night, close your eyes and ask yourself, did I try my hardest today? And did I do the next right thing? I mean, that's all it is. That's all it really is. It's all life boils down to, you know?
Business is an excuse to be in relationship.
Yeah. It's a new one.
It's from my business coach.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
to me, business was always the product, the numbers, the data, the thing. All this stuff I'm talking about, all the, you know, the pressure washer is really just a conduit to a relationship with you, right? And it's taken me a long time to realize that, because I used to really beat myself up of I'm living this materialistic life. I'm in love with these. I'm coveting all these material items that I can't take with me, you know. And what I realized is that me sharing these what would be perceived as material things has really been the conduit to relationship. And so my business and our businesses are just an excuse to be in relationship. My coach says. He says that if you take a building and all the computers and all the desks and you take all the people out, what do you have? You know, you got nothing. Just got a bunch of computers and a bunch of desks.
Yeah.
That may be changing with artificial intelligence, but at this point, without the humans, you don't have anything. Without the relationships, the interpersonal relationships, it doesn't work. That's why I really don't like the whole concept of remote working. That collaboration of seeing all these, as you might imagine, most of the people who work for me are young men, and so watching those young men all collaborate together and seeing them come up with some sort of result, and watching their relationships developing from that, and me knowing that I'm the conduit to that. That's been the biggest change in my life, because I didn't give a crap about other people. I didn't give a crap about relationships until I broke. And I think, maybe there's some divine intervention in there, came kick me in the brain and said, hey, dude, you need some other people. Figure out how to let them in.
It's not, honestly, though, can't be that bad having a little bit of a relationship with a GT3 RS. It's got to be a decent relationship, right? It's got to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Few material things are all right.
It makes it a little
sprinkle
nice.
them in there.
But that GT3 is what connects you to some other person. Maybe they have one. Some of my best friends in life are part of our GT Smokies group. We go to the Smoky Mountains together, and you get a bunch of people that have a shared passion. And it's weird to get a bunch of introverts around a table and you can't shut them up because they know that they've got somebody else that's an equal.
Yep.
Or if I get some obsessed garage people together that are all nerds that would be hiding in the corner somewhere, we would all be in the nerds in respective corners, and you get us together at a table, and it's like we got to bring the volume down because you can't hear each other talk because you're so excited that you've got somebody.
I think introvert though is the wrong way to look at that, because you're 100% right, and it's not that you're an introvert. You're just picky. You're picky. You're picky about people. You're people picky. He's not an introvert,
right?
You just got high standards. We
Well,
all
one of
deal
my
with the same
taglines-
thing.
One of my taglines early on was "Do average elsewhere," and so when you're around average people and you're talking about the weather and you're talking about politics, you're talking about the same things that everybody else talks about. It's boring to to people that now above average is not better. That's what I've learned. It's just different.
Right.
And that difference in life, when you get difference like differences together, then magic can happen. And so I built a darn business with a bunch of different people, all with a shared mission. And then I'm learning how to be a leader, or learning how to develop relationships, learning how to do that, and magic can happen.
Straight up advice, I think, was always reinvest in yourself or your business. I think that was a big one that, I tried focusing on. I've always been driven by tools. I like tools in the shop. I like having the nice stuff. So, work through that. And then another thing that wasn't necessarily a piece of advice, but something that has always stuck out and helped me was one of the guys I worked for. Man, he never gave up. Like, he'd get his ass handed to him by a project where, I'm looking at it when I'm young thinking, oh, dude, just walk away. Like, this is brutal. How can you recover from this? And he just kept grinding and grinding and grinding, get through it. And then in the end, it's like, wow, that's really impressive. Like, so that was a big one. I'm glad that I had that experience and got to work, right next to him, powering through the struggles, you know what I mean? And not giving up.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's solid stuff. That's something that every aspiring hot rod builder should
tattoo on their forearm.
Yeah.
100%. Write it on the back of your welding gloves.
What about you?
Like that.
I think my probably advice that's hit the hardest for me is that you're in control of everything in your life. Yeah, there's variables there's stuff that happens that's out of your control, but how you react to it, what you do, in spite of what has happened. I think I just kind of took that to heart, especially like through my accident. I just kind of, shit happens for a reason. And even in my accident, like I put myself at risk, and it bit me, and I just had to decide from then on out how I was going to control my life. So
do you care about talking about that? I don't care.
Y'all talk about whatever you want.
What? So
You had an accident.
Yeah.
What happened?
Motocross accident in 2001.
So obviously your piece of advice that you just gave is very poignant into how you've lived your life after that.
I think so. Yeah.
Because obviously you weren't, it really wasn't running through your head when you were doing motocross.
No.
What could happen.
Right.
And that's not something you prepare for.
Right. Yeah.
How long did you spend like poor, pitiful me and down in the fucking dumps?
I don't think I did it all.
Just got right back after.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like Jared can attest to this. Like people have asked me that. I don't know. I didn't like actively like, I'm not going to be down in the dumps or let this get to me. It just
didn't.
No. And I was surrounded by
just
people.
built that way,
Yeah.
huh?
I was surrounded by people that supported me. My wife now was my girlfriend then and was by my side the whole time. So that I had that. And, I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what got me through all that, but you know, that piece of advice I can say I've lived, you know, with that advice for a very long time.
You know, my parents gave me so much great advice. You know, a lot of the things that, you know, we talked about having a servant's attitude. Certainly that's led me in all the right directions. Because, you know, when you're serving others, you're putting other people's needs first. It's a way to have humility and self-awareness, I believe. If you're always after yourself, you might get what you want temporarily, but if you serve others, you'll find what you want, and you'll be rewarded with that. You know, Dad, when he's talking about sales, would say, you know, a lot of people come in and they're after money, and you know, some people make it, some don't. But if you truly serve people, then the money will come. You know, because if you do the right thing, like my dad did, he didn't want to just sell one car. He wanted to create a relationship where people trusted him to send in their friends and send in their family and come back to him. And that's what grew Galpin. Was having that servant's attitude and doing the right thing by others. So in the short term, yeah, he might have made a little bit less, but in the long term, he built the #1 Ford dealership in the world, and he was the most respected car dealer of all time. And I'll never, you know, quite live up to that. And I hope to emulate that and do the best that I can. But he did that by doing the right thing, and so I think I got to put it there because it's a great attitude in life. And if you're, you know, if you're looking to serve others, you'll be amazed at what comes back to you.
He has decided about 2 years ago that he is going to pursue this as a career. He wants to be a MMA fighter. I'm asking you for advice to tell him, and acceptable of choose another career. I'm fine with that too. So whatever you would like to.
No, my advice wouldn't be choose another career because, I mean, the chances of him becoming a Conor McGregor, not good. But my thing with any of that, and I tell my kids the same thing, I don't give a shit what they want to do. If they want to fight, okay, go ahead. But, you know, I've been somewhat successful. Like, fighters don't grow up in Calabasas, California. You know, fighting comes from the gutters. Like, you have to have no options. I decided to start fighting because I kind of had no options. So things might be a little different now with with social media, and kids see fighting more now, especially MMA and the UFC, and they're starting to make better money. But, you know, I know who you guys are. Like, you're a successful dude in this space. So I'm sure, you know, he's not worried about where his next meal comes from. So you got to realize that he's going to be competing once he's at a certain level. You're fighting against kids that have no other options, and it's fucking dangerous when you have other options. That said, there's some guys who make it, and, you know, their families were just, you know, blue collar and they weren't broke and stuff like that. There's a lot of kids who can make it like that. But even I'd say go for it. But my thing is, if you're going to go for it, fucking go for it, dude. Fucking go for it. Act like you don't have a famous dad in the car business. Fucking go for it. Don't depend on your dad. And if you're going to go for it, because that's going to teach him lessons. Again, if he ends up as Conor McGregor, fuck yeah, we made it. We're going Sizzler. We're buying all the cars we want. Dad can retire. Hopefully he becomes Conor McGregor. Odds are he doesn't, But the life lessons he's learned, there's no better lessons than fighting, is that, you know, he'll be able to take that work ethic and apply it to whatever else he wants to do. So my thing is, do it. Hell yeah, go for it. In my head, because I've been, you know, I've played professional football, I've played, you know, or fought professional. Like, I know what it takes and the odds are to get there. Chances are he's not going to make it. All good. Hopefully he learns from that and can use that in other life lessons. But I don't care what my kids do. I don't care, as long as you fucking give it your best shot. You half-ass it, I'm out, man. You don't have my support.
I'm with you 1,000%. I don't care whatever decision he wants to make. We've had this very similar discussion. It's funny you mentioned Conor because, and I don't know why. I'd love to ask you why you like kids of that age. Like Conor McGregor is a fucking idol to them. And that's Conor McGregor is his favorite fighter, has been so since he was, 12 years old, right? And he loves.
I'll stop you there. The reason why even I referenced Conor, and he wasn't fighting when I was fighting. He came on after me. He might have had maybe 1 or 2 fights, but right before I retired. Either way, the reason everyone says Conor McGregor is because he's made more money than everybody. Like, he's the pinnacle. He's wins or losses. I don't give a shit about any of that. But as far as getting set up for life, like other professional athletes, he's the only one who's ever done it fighting. So that's why he's the pinnacle.
Right. That makes a good point. But I've referenced him like, dude, your idol, the thing you're talking about, you don't realize how, and I don't know Conor personally, contrary to popular belief. I don't know it, but the story is how hungry he actually was hungry, physically hungry from a financial standpoint, what he had to do. And I've tried to explain to my son, I'm like, you got to understand, like, you've got an iPhone, you're going to a nice school, you've got a roof over your head, you're driving a slammed Audi with 20-inch wheels on it, and you got Joe Rogan sending you birthday gifts of Roots of Fight shit, so I doubt that you're the same hunger level as Conor McGregor was, kind of coming up in the streets. So you've got to figure out to tap into that.
He's got the ego for it.
He needs to figure out because, again, like everyone wants to say, like me and Mike Tyson were doing an interview, and I said, yeah, fighting comes from the streets. And he goes, I'm going to stop you. It comes from the gutters. I said, all right, that's fair. Now, to say that all fighters come from that background isn't fair. That's like saying all comics have to have a fucked up childhood. That's not fair. I had great parents. So some of that is, it's not that your son has to grow up broke or be desperate. That doesn't work for me, because now it's a real professional, avenue. It's not like back in the day where it was only on Indian reservations and it's kind of this taboo thing. It's on fucking Disney Channel. It's on ESPN. So it's a massive, massive market. So you're going to get all kind of, tax bracket fighters in there. So with your son, and I think it does such a disservice for fighting, like Kenny Florian, and I have 2 majors from University of Colorado. Like, I was an educated person. Kenny Florian, I think, has a master's. Like, there's some really smart fucking dudes that decide to fight. For your son, I don't need you to grow up on the streets and be starving and your dad used to beat you. I need this sad story like Sean Strickland. No. He's the outlier. He needs to find his reason, whether it's he doesn't want to be under the shadow of his father. His father's success, he wants to go the exact opposite. So that gives him the fuel to wake the fuck up at 5 a.m. and run, while that same kid in Brooklyn, New York, that's dead broke is running for a different reason. As long as he finds his reason, I don't give a fuck if you're Elon Musk's son. You can do it, but you got to find your reason. You got to find that fire. That fire has to come from somewhere, whether it's being grown up dead broke or an abusive father, or you don't want, your famous dad in the car business overshadowing you. I don't give a fuck what it is. As long as you find it, that's the rocket fuel you need to get to where you need to go.
Fuck yeah. Dude, I love that.
It's fucking amazing.
I'm getting fucking charged up over here.
Me too. It's difficult to find people that have that same passion, that want to go and do something, and especially for somebody else. They want to do it themselves. And I really do think that in the near future, I think we're going to find a lot of things changes across the board and across the country, where you're going to be hiring subcontractors. They're responsible for their own business. They're going to run it in there, rent them a spot, almost like a barber shop, And maybe that's the switch. They'll get paid more money, but they have to back up what they're doing. They can't just be bullshit sucking off the nipple.
But will they though? Like, because that's the thing that comes with size and scale. Like, can't warrant. That's my biggest gripe with that whole thing. When you're at your size and scale, like you can absorb that. Like if you have, I mean, I'm sure you've had situations where you've got to absorb things and you've got to redo them. And we're the same way. You've got to stand behind your work. If you're a 1-man band, 2-man band, even like a 3-man band, if you have to like repaint a car,
the
guy that had the work underneath,
you're out of
business.
Right? You are 100% out of business. So you have no choice but to not stand behind that, because it's fight or flight. You can either be like as much as you want to stand behind that, you simply have to tell that customer to fuck off. I'm sorry, I can't, because
but you won't be in business. You won't be in business very long. So you got to make sure that the guy that thinks he's worth $175,000 a year can actually put up $175,000 worth of quality, right?
Right. Yeah, but I mean, stuff happens, right? It's
it
unforeseen
happens.
things that it happens to all.
But just like a business owner, I have to swallow it. When shit
Right.
doesn't work out, maybe they need to as well. And I just don't know. I don't know what the correct answer is, but I know that you guys, there's no way in hell you don't deal with the same problems.
No, we
that I
do.
have.
But the difference is when you're, at that size, you can absorb it.
When you're a 1-man band, it's like you're either out of business that day or you're out of business word of mouth because you told the guy to.
Right.
It's
like a pivotal moment.
It's a total pivotal moment. So what do? Because you don't have the money to repaint this guy's car if you messed it up in some way, shape, or form. Right. But you can't afford to tell him to fuck off either, right? So it's just like
because
it's a double-edged sword
travels
at that
a
point.
lot faster than I got a really great car over at this shop.
So, So what in a situation 1-man band? What do you do?
What do you do? I get Dave's point. Like you subcontractor, say it's unnamed A1 Auto Supply, huge shop, right? And they got 3 guys that they're subcontracting for body works. 3 guys are subcontracting for fabric. They got a badass painter, right?
Mm-hmm.
They negotiate each job. They go in there like, hey, this is a badass car. This guy's going to run this. When it comes to you, it's going to be ready to spray. You're going to spray it, cut it, buff it, handle everything like that. I'm willing to pay you $65,000 to paint this car, material, whatever it is. Agree upon a price. He sprays it, right? Fucking delams or does whatever it is when he's above it. Now, at that point, what does he do? He's going to have to fucking eat it, right?
Well, yeah, he's got to eat it.
But
because he's a business,
but
just
how
like
does he
any
eat
other
it?
business.
How does he eat it when
if he's a 1-man shop and
he's got to keep
only
the
source
lights
of billable
on, right?
hours? Then he's working on that for the next 2 months with no money coming in.
Well, if he doesn't fix it, he ain't getting no more business. He should probably be trying to get a Walmart job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's it. That's definitely that's a great point. I mean, it's something that you have to think about.
I guess the paint is really the only one that's like that catastrophic. I mean,
you've got component failures, man. I mean, a motor grenades, a trans. I mean, we've had a brand new LT4 that just decided to say, "Fuck you, I'm gonna just lock up for no apparent reason." But even that, like the burden of like pulling it out, waiting to get it warrantied, if they will warranty it, those are tough things to deal with.
Well, you got to deal with that stuff as a business anyway. Not to get off topic, but I mean, we literally only install aftermarket parts on everything. If something doesn't work, I can't charge my customer to pull their components back out, and change them, and then charge them again. He trusted me to get the right parts,
right?
But on the other flip side, the suppliers don't go, "Oh yeah, I really feel bad about that. We'll pay you for the labor to take it out, put it in."
They won't even
do
pay you
that
for the
stuff.
freight.
Shit, they
to
don't
ship
even.
the part
Yeah,
back.
no.
Let alone
go ahead and ship that back, and we'll get you taken care of. Send me a call tag.
You already
send me a call tag.
You already put a finger where it's not supposed to go. It's like,
and then that's a great point. Like I said, businesses our size, they can absorb some of that stuff, but 1-man shops, I mean, it's super cutthroat. You're barely getting by because I mean, all these cars are super nice and tons of money, but there's not a lot left on the table when they're actually done, right?
Yeah,
it's very slim pickings.
There's not some huge margins there.
There's not huge margins.
Not even margins.
Sometimes the larger the margin, there's a negative in front of it.
It goes this way, not this way.
Stay true to yourself. I think for this world, there's so much going on around us. It's chaotic as hell with all the influence, social media, pressure, blah, blah, blah. Try to stay grounded and true to yourself. And I think that that's important. And I see a lot of that with my son right now in school and the pressures that he deals with. And there's so much how we look, how we are and all that. But, you gotta be strong. You gotta know your roots. You gotta know who you are, and you can't waver from it, man. You gotta stick strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think very, very similar is, one of my heroes whenever I was a kid, teenager, was Mike V. He's a pro skateboarder, lead singer of Black Flag, been in a bunch of stuff. And
awesome fight video.
Yeah,
that's the dude. That's the dude. That just popped up the other day. It was a meme. Like, it was just a still of it. It's like, if you know this, you were a badass in the 90s.
He took fucking 13, 14 guys on. Yeah.
Honestly, it's like one of the first ever viral videos before there was viral. You know what I mean? That thing went everywhere. And like, he was a hero of mine. I ended up becoming friends with him. Like, we ended up like having a rapport. And there's two mantras of his. Like, one was stand strong and the other was never give up. And those two things, you know what I mean? For me, everything I needed to learn in life I learned through skateboarding. So like, stand strong is exactly what you just echoed. So, I mean, for me, that's some of the best advice, whatever it is, man. Even, we're trying to do something here like that's unique and different. And like, we just never give up and always stand strong, be true to yourself. And, I feel that as an American, I feel that as a father, I feel that as, a friend. And like, that's what I always try to stick to, man.
I think it's better. Let's switch it, because you should be best piece of advice that you would give to somebody. I mean, young guy is somebody that's got a little entrepreneurial spirit. What would you tell a dude?
You gotta take care of your customers, and you gotta take care of your employees, your people that work with you. You gotta treat your people good. You just gotta be straight. You treat them good, you take care of them, they'll keep coming back. And it's amazing. People have asked me over the years, what's your keys to success? And it's simple. It's quality and service. Take care of your customers, provide a good quality. And it's if you think about it, it's crazy how many people run businesses and gloss over that.
Yeah.
And they just, their quality's not great. They really don't take care of people. They're kind of entitled, and they struggle because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's 100%. We've talked about on this podcast before. It's funny how many conversations you have just like that. It's funny how people, even well-meaning people that care about the business and care about like making sure that Roadster Shop succeeds. We've had people in positions before and stuff. Like, hey, we need to send this bar back, or send one of these bars out next day air to so and so. I mean, we got to get the other bar back first, and then like, what about, we're not going to charge him? Why are we spending dough? Just send it.
Take care of customers.
Take care of them. It's at the end of the day, we're talking like $150 total.
Yeah.
But that's going to mean that guy needs it.
Yep.
Right. Well, why does he need it? Well, he's staying all night long. He's missing his child's birthday. They got to get this car to take care of that customer, to take it to that show, to make it happy. So he needs the part.
Yeah.
Like, let's do that.
No doubt. I mean, I'll tell you, that reminds me, thinking back when the company was smaller and I was, more hands-on in the day-to-day, and I'd be doing stuff for customers, and some of my employees would be like, why are you doing that? Like, you don't need to do that. Like, it's like, no, I'm just going to take care of them. It's the right thing to do. And because that does come back tenfold. There's no doubt about it. You got to just, do what's right. And you being in the position I'm in now as a manufacturer, we have home improvement companies that buy our product, right? And so they deal with the consumers. We don't so much. I mean, we will get in the middle of it if a consumer comes to us with an issue or whatever, and we'll help deal with it. But I can't tell you, over the years, having conversations and giving advice to our dealers, and they're like, well, this homeowner's, they're wrong, they're taking advantage of me, blah blah blah. And it's like, this is not about who's right or wrong. This is about just business and getting it done. And it, so you got a bad apple, you just get it taken care of, and you move on to the next one. And you just don't get hung up on it. Don't so you gotta pick and choose your battles.
So business. you take care of the bad apple. In a positive way.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you just you don't want someone blowing you up on social media. Just take care of it.
I talk about this with the guys on the chassis shop side and at the other facility as well. I'm sure if anybody's listening, I sound like a broken record, but the customer service thing is just like we do on management style. Is you got to eliminate excuses. Don't let them have any excuses. So make sure we're doing our job to eliminate all excuses. And then you look at the customer service like you're paying into a piggy bank. You never want to have to draw out of that savings account, but one day you're going to have to, right? Yeah. There's going to be a time that we fucked up.
Right.
Yeah. Right. We've fucked up with a good customer, but if we've built up that savings account of knowing that we've always taken care of, whether it's our fault or not, we've always been there to take care of you. That time that it does come, we're like, hey, look, we missed it. It was supposed to leave out Friday, and it didn't leave. It left Monday. I apologize. Yeah. We've built up a history, and that salesman's built up a history. The roadshow shop's built up a history. We paid into that piggy bank where it's like, hey, I need to make a small withdrawal of sorry.
Yep.
We fucked up, right? But you got to do that. Because if it's always like, it's not my problem, we tried to do better, whatever, then you've got a history of never really giving a fuck.
Yeah. Well, and you owned it too, right? You said, hey, it happened. We're sorry, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes people like that too, instead of bullshit and be like, yeah, we were ready, but the truck didn't show up.
Oh, the bullshit always gets you in way more trouble.
Yeah.
Always.
That somehow they find out.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you're lying because, we talked to that truck driver, whatever.
Right.
It's much easier to remember the truth than to remember the bullshit and lies you construed to get there.
No doubt.